Hello, your students from FRJ. We do letters English with Glenda Mello in the subject English acquisition as second language. And today we're going to be presenting the results of our research work that we made at CCS, where we did a research activity with the students about in the students in the healthcare sector about their relation with the language English and how they deal with it. So here we have our summary where we divided this presentation in five parts. Uh, Being introduction or objectives, the methodology, the results and analysis, and the last one, the conclusion. So to start, I'm gonna contextualize with the introduction, what we do and what was our objectives doing it. So this study investigates the relationship between CCS students and the English language, focusing on their learning experiences. English plays an important role in higher education, and with this in mind, we decided to investigate how students relate the language in both academic and their personal lives. Here we have our objective that we take it in consideration doing it, and what was your our intentions. Where it says that our main objective of this research was mainly to understand how participants, how the students, how they did learn English and how they evaluate their own proficiency, whether they use English in their academic routine and how important to them they believe English is for the students and for their studies and their future professional careers. So here we have our methodology where I'm going to pass to my friend Julia. She's going to talk about it.
So our methodology was based on a qualitative research involving a very small sample of participants, mainly undergraduate students, but also including a postgraduate student and a worker from the building. So the stages for our collection of data was firstly to visit CCS, then prepare the questions, then we came back there and did the interviews. And finally, we compared the responses, and then to finally understand how the students understand English learning and how they learned and how they feel about English in their professions and courses. So the first stage was consisted to a visit to the CCS building, which we observed both its physical infrastructure and the profile of the people who frequented the space. So we find out that the building showed clear signs of needing maintenance, such as leaks in the ceiling, peeling paint, overgrown vegetation around the building, and other structural damage that we are already familiar with in the public education. Uh, Come back. Okay, so while also appearing to have a well-equipped with technology required for the academic programs housed there. For example, we saw a lot of labs that seemed to have a lot of equipment, and the majority of people we observed appeared to be young white women. Can you pass? Okay. So one aspect particularly that stood out to me was this mural that was displayed on one of the main hallways of the building, featuring prominent Brazilian scientists. Although it was inspiring to see Brazilian researchers represented in important scientific fields, most of the figures that portrayed there were older white men. While it's certainly a source of pride to celebrate the Brazilian achievements in science and in healthcare, I could not help to wonder how that image resonates with the students who do not share the same demographic profile. In other words, that is to ask what image comes to mind when we think of scientists in healthcare and biological sciences. Does this reflect a society in which those who are able to achieve intellectual recognition predominantly belong to these particular social groups? So these are important questions that we consider when examining who has historically had access to this space and opportunities. But coming back to our research, you can pass, please. So the second stage of our research was designing an interview protocol, that is to say, prepare our questions. We agreed that we first introduce ourselves, explain the purpose of our research, and then ask them if the person would be interested or available to participate. So our professor, Glenda, required us to collect pieces of demographic information from each participant, which were name, age, course, gender, race, and the neighborhood they lived. And finally, we developed 10 questions that would help us better understand how the process of learning English had taken place for the students from the CCS. Can you pause, please? Thank you. So, and then we returned to the building and conducted the interviews. It was a Wednesday, approximately at 7:15 a.m., when my partner and I met and we walked around the building looking for potential participants. In total, we interviewed 5 participants, including undergraduate students, one postgraduate student, and a local worker. Only one person declined to participate because they were on their way to an exam, and 5 of the interviews were conducted in Portuguese. So the first 4 was because we were not yet confident enough to approach participants in English. And then the last one because the interview said that they would not be able to complete the interview in English. So we remained on the first floor to collect our data, mainly near the cafeteria, where we noticed that people were generally less rushed than in other parts of the building, making them more approachable than those hurrying to class. Pass, please. So now I'm gonna pass the word to Emanuele, and she will show you the outline of the profile of the interviews the interview participants.
Okay. So here we have the interview participants profile, and then we put it on some graphics where we have here the age and the gender. But before the questionnaire, we made some questions like what the name, the age, the study, I mean the course that the people, the person do, how they identify themselves by race and by gender and their neighborhood. So here we can see that in the gender part, in the gender side, we can see that we have mostly female on our research. And the percentage of male, they are very small compared to the female. And about the non-binary people, we haven't found any, or at least any people that doesn't consider herself as non-binary people. And about the age, we dealt with mostly young people between 18 and 20, but also with people that has age surrounding like 21, 24. We only found 2 people with more than 25 years, which was the local worker and a postgraduate, as Julia said. As we can see, the mostly percentage of it has belongs to the most young people that has 18 and 20 that have more contact and etc. And here we have uh, two graphics about the race and their neighborhood of the people that we interviewed. Here in the first graphic, we can see that the most people that we interviewed was white, consider themselves as white people, but we also have a strongly percentage of mixed people. But we only found only one black people, which is a pretty small percentage compared to the other one. And about the yellow and the indigenous people, we haven't found any. And when it comes to the second graphic, talking about the neighborhood, as we can see, it's very equality. It's very tá bem igual actually. Um, the people that we interviewed, they live in West Zone, in the North Zone, and the Embaixada. We haven't found anyone that lives outside Rio or in any other places. At least that was our experiencing, talking with the people that we made this work. Here we have an analysis of what we mentioned in the graphic before it, where it says that 7 of 9 person that we talked were under 25 years old. 6 of 9 participants identified themselves as women. 5 of 9 participants identified themselves as white. 3 of 9 person as mixed, and just one as black. And about the neighborhood, as I said, it's a fairly distribution across the North Zone, the Southwest, and the Baixada. So here we have the English learning experiences, where I'm gonna pass back to Julia. She's gonna talk about it.
So in this part, I'll talk about a little about the participants' relationship with English and how they learned and practice it. So the questions that we asked were, how well do you think you know English? Where did you learn English? If you learned by yourself, how did you do this? If you have ever taken English classes, how would you describe them? For how long have you studied English? What materials or resources do you use to practice English? Did you have any difficulties learning English? Which ones? What aspects of English do you find easiest? Do you use English in your course or workplace, and where? And do you think English is important for your course or profession? So the results shows that most of the participants identify themselves as intermediary in a proficiency of English. Only one woman classified herself as Adventist. This participant, as I said, was a postgraduate student, and she also added that she didn't consider herself fluent, despite having several years of experience in a multinational company where English was used extensively. The majority learned English independently or through English courses such as CCA, Cultura Inglesa, and CNA, showing that English at school was not enough to develop these participants' proficiency. Our findings also raised the questions about unequal access to English learning opportunities, since many participants developed their English outside the public education system. Almost all of our participants consider English at school very basic, and those who learned by themselves relied on mainly on digital media, including music, movies, TV series, and video games. Next, please. So the aspects that were considered most difficult were pronunciation, speaking, writing, and for some participants, the English language as a whole. And in contrast, the aspects of English that were considered the easiest were reading, listening, and writing. Pode passar. Uh, the materials most frequently used to practice English were books, movies, TV series, social media, and music. And regarding the duration of English studies, three participants studied more than 5 years, three less than 5 years, two only at school, and only one was unsure. Only the person that worked on Xerox reported that she didn't use English at her work. Uh, and all of the graduated undergraduate students use English to read articles, suggesting that English plays an important role in academic lives of CCS students, particularly as a mean of accessing scientific literature. Pode passar. So almost all of the participants consider English important for their courses and future professions. However, two responses stood out because of their interesting contradiction. So the question was, do you think English is important for your course or profession? And the Xerox staff believes that English is important for her profession, although she doesn't use it on her daily lives. Because it can help her assist other people when necessary, and she even mentioned as an example that she was able to answer our survey. And in the other hand, a medical student reported using English in his study, but she didn't I'm sorry, he didn't consider that English was essential for his profession or his course, but rather an additional qualification that may be beneficial. So this perception of English important doesn't always coincide with the actual usage of the language, and it can also correspond to a sense that English is important, but don't ask why, how. That's difficult to understand when you don't actually use it in your daily lives. But these answers were very, very contradictional and really highlighted. Can pass, please. So now conclusion, I'm going to pass for Emanuele again.
Okay, so here we have our last topic, which is the conclusion. Here we talk about that. I'm gonna read the test. Despite difference in proficiency levels and learning backgrounds, all participants acknowledge its importance. The finding also support the idea that English can be acquired through different educational and personal experiences, showing that there is no single correct path or to learning the language. What matters most is the ability to communicate and use English effectively according to each learner's needs and context. So with our interview, we noted a few things that with the people that we talk it, when we use it to get closer to them, they use it to like step behind or distanciar a little bit from us, and they used to seem pretty nervous. Because at least how they said, they didn't feel comfortable talking with us because of the English level, or how they could struggle talking with us or commit any errors, which it's a contradiction with what we learn here in the course, that there is no way of talking English in the right way, and also with this research shows different ways and different um, social classes, how people they how they obtain the language in very different ways. Like people said that they learn with games, while said that they learn with courses, while some of them said that they learned with school, and how the lack of education, it was a big a bad thing. This research, the research in doing this research in this kind of field, in the healthcare field, it helps us to understand and also to see that even though English is not their obligation to learn, the all of them they think that English is important. So yeah, I think that's it. I don't have much to say. Uh, I'm kind of nervous. I'm sorry. And here we have our conclusion, concluding our work, our research. And I just would like to say thank you for watching to here until here. And yeah, bye. I'm gonna pass to Julia if she has any comments too, something.
Yes, only one thing about the conclusion is that she mentioned that we had this distanciamento das pessoas
Mhm.
quando a gente aproximava, principalmente em inglês, né? Uh, so people are afraid of making mistakes in English. They put it on a pedestal.
Yeah.
They use they think of the language as better than ours, and it's not like that. They were afraid even to talk with us, and we thought that would be the contrary. So that's it. I don't have much to say. I think it was a very interesting work that we did, our research, to talk to people, to see different realities, to see how people understand the language, how they use the language. It was very nice to do that, although we thought would be the contrary. So this is our work. If you have any doubts, we have our emails on this last session, and that's it. So thank you all for watching us.
Thank you. Bye.